So I just want to show our viewers this email and this exchange to the Commission from Gladys Berejiklian. So first of all, let's bring up this email. It's from her Chief of Staff, and she was asked to locate this email from a developer that Daryl Maguire had encouraged the developer to send to her to her private email address. And the Chief of Staff says, to the best of the knowledge of the Premier is the only person who had access to and the ability to delete items from the email account, and they couldn't find it in the deleted items folder. Now, she's asked about this email in evidence. Have a listen.
Do you recall receiving this email?
I don't recall receiving it, no.
And do you know what, if anything, you did with that email?
I actually asked, given it's been the subject of public interest, I actually asked my office to check the IT records and the records of our correspondence team, and my office advised me that they could not find any record that I had forwarded any of these emails on.
So the correspondent says, effectively, she must have deleted the email. She's saying there she never read the email, but here's what doesn't make her look so good. It's the phone tap which shows Maguire tells her she's getting the lobbying email to her private address.
Did you get an email from Louise Waterhouse?
Nope.
You will. She'll send you an email. She's really pissed off now. So, about the the airport, they're all passing the buck. So RMS is saying, no, it's the federal government's plan and we have to deliver on it. Federal government's saying, no, RMS are in charge of the road. It's going around in circles. And I said, this is fucking typical of our government with that Brad Cromley in charge. He caused all this problem, he's a bureaucrat, passing the buck.
All right.
Same out at Camellia too.
Okay, so
Same out at Camellia.
I've got to go. Bye.
This is a land deal around the Badgerys Creek Airport where Daryl Maguire stands to make a substantial amount of money. He reveals in another phone tap can clear his $1.5 million debt. And it's also been in evidence to ICAC that the two were planning a potential life together should he retire from Parliament at the next election as he planned, although the Premier says who knows if that would have happened. You can see why she's got some difficulties here. There's an MP who is lobbying for developers and he's getting a cut while he's an MP, using his position as Parliamentary Secretary, and he's getting the developer to email Gladys Berejiklian. Gladys Berejiklian says she can't remember the email, but the evidence firmly suggests she must have deleted it because it's been deleted. So you delete an email but you don't read it. You agree to accept it on that phone call. Why don't you say, look, she can't be sending me that? It just raises a lot of questions, I guess, Pete, about Gladys Berejiklian's involvement with Daryl Maguire while he was trying to get all these deals done while he was an MP.
How does that stick, though, if she hasn't seen the email?
Well, do you believe that she hasn't seen the email?
Yeah. So that's the allegation that's been read.
Do you delete emails before you read them?
It depends who they're from. I get a lot of junk email, but this is obviously
He's telling her in the phone call she's going to get this email.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why isn't she pulling him up? Or is she just conflict avoiding and then when she gets the email she deletes it?
So that'll be a focus today or possible tomorrow.
As will her comment to him, I don't need to know about that.
Yeah, well, that's
in terms of his cut on the deal.
Well, that is the murkiest water around some of all of this. I don't need to know that.
I know a lot of people have sympathy and support for Gladys Berejiklian. I think she's done a fantastic job during the pandemic. Before this evidence, I viewed her as a clean politician. But I just urge them to look at the evidence objectively. And is it appropriate for a Premier to know that an MP serving under her as a parliamentary secretary is lobbying for developers and getting a cut, and for her to not inform people about this?
You've seen the PM out and about again today, folding in behind her and supporting her. That's the second time he's done that in 2 days. When asked about it, what do you make of that intervention again?
Well, I suspect he's sniffing the wind and he doesn't see enough there for pressure on her to resign. He knows she's popular. I think his office would have looked very carefully at the evidence and judged whether or not there was enough for her to go. But it is a significant intervention. I said yesterday that John Howard didn't back John Brogden when he was the subject of sexual harassment allegations, and he was gone that afternoon. It's a big boon of support for her to have the PM back her publicly.
What about this photograph? We'll bring this up again. This is the photo bombshell on the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning. We've got Daryl Maguire shaking the hand of Xi Jinping, and there's Gladys right in behind Mr Maguire there. What do you make of that picture?
Well, I mean, these things happen. I heard Matt Keane before, it's a delegation, but I'm getting a lot of calls and texts, Pete, about people now questioning Daryl Maguire and her, let's not even say relationship, friendship, close ties. And the fact that he was seen as a shonk and the ICAC's looking at him as potentially corrupt, and that would mean a potential criminal offence, and whether or not she's compromised. And people are quite concerned that at some stage or another she's been compromised. He's discussing his business interests with her in depth on phone conversations. What happened in the conversations outside the phone conversation?
Everyone's very supportive, at least publicly, and you saw that in the interview a short time ago. Matt Keane said it doesn't matter what's going to happen out of ICAC in the next couple of days. He stands behind her.
He's her biggest supporter.
What are people saying privately?
Well, they're getting ready in case she has to resign.
Counting numbers, all that?
They're just preparing in case she has to resign.
I mean, there's always the potential, isn't there, today, that he might be a bit miffed about what's going on and try to set fire to the joint.
There's the potential, or he could not give any evidence that reflects poorly on her. So we wait and see. But I mean, there's some revelations in the papers today. You'd have to think there's a lot more that can be raked over. The upper house has an ability to call for papers, which is like a super FOI. They'll be putting in a number of them in relation to Daryl Maguire's lobbying, and this scandal could go for months.